Have you ever felt like people walk all over you, ignore your ideas, or take advantage of your kindness? Well, that ends today. Respect isn't something you can beg for, it's something you build. In this video, I'm giving you powerful habits that will make people sit up, take notice, and treat you like the confident, self-assured person you are. Let's dive in, and trust me, habit number 4 might just blow your mind. 1. Set clear boundaries. Here's something you don't hear every day. Being nice all the time can ruin your life. Yep, I said it. And before you come for me in the comments, hear me out. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're rude or unkind. It means you respect yourself enough to put your own needs first. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when my default answer to everything was, "Sure, I can do that." It didn't matter if I was exhausted, drowning in my own responsibilities, or just didn't feel like it. I was the go-to person for favors. But I wasn't happy. I was burnt out. And let me tell you, nothing says pushover quite like the person who's always saying yes while secretly screaming inside. But when I finally started saying no, game changer. At first, it felt awkward, like really awkward. You'd think I was committing a crime with the amount of guilt I felt. But then something amazing happened. The people who genuinely cared about me said, "Oh, I understand." And the ones who didn't, well, they made it obvious they were only around for what I could do for them. And honestly, good riddance. Here's the truth. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about teaching people how to treat you. When you set clear limits, you're saying, "I value my time, my energy, and myself." And that is one of the most powerful things you can do. Because if you keep saying yes to everyone else, who's saying yes to you? Don't wait until you're burned out to start protecting your peace. Start now. Start today. And trust me, the people worth keeping around will respect you more for it. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. And the more you honor yours, the more others will honor you too. 2. Follow through on promises. Let's get real. Breaking promises is one of the quickest ways to lose respect. And not just from others, but from yourself. And I know that sounds harsh. But hear me out. Every time you say, "Yeah, I'll totally do that," and then don't, you're chipping away at your reputation. It's like being that one friend who's always late. People won't hate you for it, but they'll never take you seriously either. Here's the thing no one talks about. When you don't follow through on your promises, you're lying to someone. That someone might be your boss, your friend, or your family. But here's the real plot twist. Most of the time, the person you're lying to is you. And that, my friends, stings the most. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I promised a coworker that I'd review a project they were working on. "Just send it over," I said. In my head, it felt easy. But then life happened. I got swamped with my own deadlines. Forgot about the project. And eventually, they moved on without my feedback. They didn't even complain. They just stopped asking me for help altogether. And you know what? I deserved it. That was my wake-up call. If you can't follow through, people stop believing in you. Simple as that. But it goes deeper than just others losing faith in you. When you constantly break promises, even the ones you make to yourself, like, "I'll start working out on Monday," or, "This is the year I'll save money," you're teaching yourself not to trust yourself. Think about that for a second. If you keep letting yourself down, how are you ever going to feel confident? motivated, or respected? Here's the part no one tells you. The promises you break affect your identity. If you repeatedly tell people, "Yeah, I'll do that," and then fail to deliver, you start seeing yourself as unreliable. And that becomes your story. "I'm just bad at follow-through." But here's the good news. You can flip that script anytime you want. Look, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Life happens. Things come up. But when you make a promise, treat it like you've signed a contract with yourself. Write it down. Set a reminder. Heck, tattoo it on your arm if you have to. Just don't overcommit to things you know you can't do. It's not noble, it's reckless. I used to be the "sure, I'll do it" person. I'd agree to every favor, every last-minute request, just to keep the peace or seem helpful. But then I realized something. Every time I said yes to something I didn't really have the capacity to do, I was putting my own priorities on hold. And let me tell you, that's the fastest way to burn out and feel bitter. So now, if I can't do something, I say so. Plain and simple. And let me tell you, the world doesn't end when you say no. The thing is, when you follow through, you build more than just trust, you build credibility. People start to see you as someone who values their word. And more importantly, you start to value your word. That builds confidence, self-respect, and over time, it transforms how others see you. So here's my challenge for you. Stop overcommitting. Be intentional with your promises. And when you do say yes, treat it like a sacred vow. Because every promise you keep makes you more of the person you want to be. Your word is your power, don't waste it. 3. Be a good listener. Alright, let's get controversial. Most people think they're good listeners. But they're not. In fact, most of us are just waiting for our turn to talk. Yeah, I said it. And here's the kicker. If you're that person, people notice. They might not say it to your face. But in their heads, they're thinking, "Why do I even bother?" Look, I'm not here to judge. I've been that person. You know, nodding along while mentally going, "What am I having for dinner tonight? Did I lock the door? Oh shoot, I forgot to text back Sarah." It's so easy to seem like you're listening when in reality, you're just not. But here's the problem. People can feel it. They can tell when your attention is halfway across the room or stuck in your own head. And here's why this matters more than you might think. When you don't truly listen, you're basically telling the other person, "What you're saying isn't important to me." Ouch, right? That kind of energy builds walls between you and people, friends, coworkers, partners, everyone. And if people don't feel heard, they're not going to respect you. Period. I remember this one time a close friend of mine was going through something really tough. She called me, and I was multitasking while she was venting, checking emails, folding laundry, you name it. I thought I was being productive. But she could tell I wasn't fully present. And at one point, she just stopped mid-sentence and said, "You know what? Never mind." That hit me like a brick. I realized I wasn't just being rude. I was actively making someone I cared about feel invisible. That was a wake-up call I'll never forget. After that, I decided to change. I stopped multitasking during conversations. I started making an effort to put down my phone, look people in the eye, and really listen. And let me tell you, when you give someone your full attention, it's like magic. They open up more, they trust you more, and most importantly, they respect you more. Now, let's clear something up. Being a good listener isn't just sitting there and nodding like a bobblehead. It's about actually engaging. Ask follow-up questions. Reflect on what the other person is saying. And here's a wild idea. Don't always jump in with your own story. Sometimes people just want to be heard without it turning into a competition of who has the crazier life experience. And let's be real, listening is hard because it forces you to step out of your own bubble. You have to pause your own thoughts and be fully present. But that's the secret source to building real respect. People don't remember every word you say, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And when you make someone feel heard, that's where trust and connection are born. Here's the deep truth. Listening isn't just about them, it's about you too. When you listen, you learn, you gain new perspectives, you understand people better, and you become more empathetic. And guess what? Empathy is a superpower. It sets leaders apart from followers, friends apart from acquaintances, and it turns just another coworker into someone people want to work with. So here's my challenge. The next time you're in a conversation, don't just hear the words. Really listen. Put away the distractions. Ask meaningful questions. And show people they matter. Trust me, the respect you'll earn in return is priceless. Because at the end of the day, being a good listener isn't just a nice skill to have. It's how you build stronger relationships, deeper trust, and a whole lot more respect. 4. Take responsibility. All right, let's shake things up with some truth. Blaming other people or making excuses doesn't make you look smart, it makes you look weak. Yep, I said it. You can't build respect while dodging accountability. In fact, taking responsibility for your mistakes is one of the most underrated power moves you can make. Let's be real, we've all had those moments. You know, when you spill coffee all over the report and immediately go, well, if they hadn't put the cup so close to the edge. Or when you miss a deadline and mutter, well, no one reminded me. But here's the thing. Every time you deflect responsibility, you're basically putting a giant neon sign over your head that says, I can't handle the pressure. And trust me, that's not the vibe you want to give off. Let me tell you, I used to be a professional excuse maker. I thought if I could just explain why something wasn't my fault, people would cut me some slack. But you know what actually happened? People started seeing me as unreliable. Someone who could explain a mistake but not own it. That stung. And it got worse when I realized I wasn't just losing their respect, I was losing my own. So one day, I decided to stop. No more excuses. No more finger pointing. And let me tell you, the first time I said, yep, that was my bad, and here's how I'm going to fix it, it felt like swallowing a cactus. But here's the crazy part. People respected me for it. Instead of tearing me down, they actually trusted me more because I was honest. Here's the truth. Taking responsibility doesn't make you weak, it makes you look strong. It shows people that you have integrity, that you're capable of learning from your mistakes, and that you care enough to make things right. And let's be honest, in a world where everyone's obsessed with saving face, owning up is a breath of fresh air. Now, let's not get it twisted. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you go around blaming yourself for everything. You don't need to apologize for stuff that's out of your control, like the weather or your coworker's bad attitude. But when something is your fault, whether it's a missed deadline, a bad decision, or just an honest mistake, you've got to own it. No excuses, no drama, just a simple, that's on me, and here's how I'll fix it. Trust me, People will remember how you handled it more than the mistake itself. I'll never forget the time I was leading a group project, and I completely messed up the timeline. We ended up rushing at the last minute, and the final product wasn't great. At first, I wanted to blame everyone else. Oh, if so and so had worked faster, we'd be fine. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was the one who dropped the ball. So I owned up to it. I told the team, "This one's on me, and I'll do better next time." And guess what? Instead of being angry, they actually thanked me for being honest. That was a huge lesson for me. Taking responsibility isn't just about fixing mistakes. It's about showing people who you are. Someone who's not afraid to face the consequences. Learn from them, and move forward. It's one of the most powerful ways to build respect because it shows maturity, strength, and humility all at once. So here's the challenge. The next time you mess up, and let's be real, we all do, try something different. Instead of blaming someone else, just own it. Say, "Yep, that was my fault," and then focus on making it right. You'd be surprised how much respect that earns you. Not just from others, but from yourself. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't about being perfect. It's about how you handle your imperfections. 5. Stand up for yourself. All right, let's dive into something that ruffles a lot of feathers. Standing up for yourself. Here's the controversial truth. If you don't stand up for yourself, people will walk all over you. And the worst part, it won't even be their fault, it'll be yours. Yeah, I said it. Respect is a two-way street. And if you don't demand it, you're not going to get it. Look, I get it. Standing up for yourself is hard. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. And sometimes it feels downright terrifying. I used to avoid confrontation like it was my full-time job. Someone would criticize me unfairly, and I'd just laugh it off like, "Oh yeah, no worries." Meanwhile, I'd be fuming inside. But here's the thing. When you let people treat you poorly, you're basically teaching them that it's okay to disrespect you. And that's the controversial part. You can't control how people act, but you can control what you tolerate. If you don't draw the line, people will assume there is no line. And that's on you. I know it sounds harsh, but hear me out. Standing up for yourself isn't about being aggressive or combative. It's about setting the tone for how you deserve to be treated. I remember this one time in college. I was part of a group project where one guy kept dumping all his work on me. At first, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to cause drama. I just kept telling myself, "It's fine, I'll handle it." But by the third late night of doing his share of the work, I snapped. I finally confronted him and said, "Hey, this isn't fair, and I'm not doing your part anymore." You know what happened? He apologized and actually started pulling his weight. And here's the kicker. I realized I was angrier at myself for not speaking up sooner than I was at him. That's when I learned that sometimes the hardest conversations are the most necessary ones. Standing up for yourself is about protecting your boundaries, your time, your energy, and your self-worth. It's about saying, "I deserve better than this," and being willing to walk away if those standards aren't met. Now, here's the part that most people get wrong. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean you have to be loud or confrontational. It can be as simple as saying no to something you don't want to do, or calmly expressing your opinion even if it's different from everyone else's. It's about being assertive, not aggressive, and knowing your worth. One of the biggest fears people have about standing up for themselves is that they'll be seen as difficult or confrontational. But here's the truth. The people who truly respect you will respect your boundaries. They might not always agree with you, but they'll appreciate that you have the guts to speak your mind. And the people who don't respect your boundaries, well, they're probably not worth keeping around anyway. So here's my challenge for you. Start small. Maybe it's telling your coworker that you can't take on another project right now. Or maybe it's finally telling your friend that you don't appreciate their constant teasing. Just start somewhere, and the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more respect you'll earn. Because at the end of the day, standing up for yourself isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about showing the world, and more importantly, yourself, that you value yourself enough to demand respect. I ever was at him. Now let's get one thing straight. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean you have to go full WWE wrestler on people. You don't need to yell, argue, or throw chairs. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "I don't appreciate that," or, "Actually, I can't take this on right now." It's about finding the balance between being assertive and being respectful. But let me warn you, when you start standing up for yourself, not everyone's going to clap for you. Some people will get defensive. Some might even call you difficult. And you know what? That's okay. Because the people who truly respect you will understand. And the ones who don't, well, they probably shouldn't have a front row seat in your life anyway. The deep truth is, standing up for yourself isn't just about earning respect from others, it's about respecting yourself. Every time you let someone cross your boundaries without saying a word, you're sending a message to yourself that you don't matter enough to fight for. And over time, that erodes your confidence and self-worth. But when you do stand up, when you say, "Hey, this is where I draw the line," you're reminding yourself that you're worth it. And that's powerful. So here's my challenge. The next time someone crosses your line, whether it's a rude comment, an unfair demand, or just bad behavior, don't let it slide. Speak up. You don't have to be rude or confrontational. You just have to be firm. Because at the end of the day, people respect those who respect themselves. Remember this. Standing up for yourself doesn't make you difficult, it makes you dignified. And dignity, that's the foundation of real respect. 6. Be consistent. All right, let's talk about something that nobody likes to admit. Most of us suck at being consistent. We're great at starting things, hyping ourselves up, making big plans, but sticking to them, that's a whole different story. And here's the controversial part. Inconsistency is one of the fastest ways to lose people's respect. Why? Because people don't trust someone they can't predict. Let's be honest. How many of us have started something with the best intentions only to drop it after 2 weeks? A workout routine, a new hobby, a commitment at work, you name it, and we always have an excuse. Right? Oh, things got busy. Or, it wasn't the right time. But here's the truth. Nobody respects someone who's all talk and no follow through. I'll never forget this one time when I told my friends I was going to start this blog. I hyped it up like crazy, talking about how it was going to be the next big thing. And everyone was like, "Wow, that sounds amazing." So I started it, and after 3 posts, I got bored and stopped. The worst part? People started joking about it. "Hey, how's that blog going?" It wasn't just embarrassing, it made me realize I'd lost a bit of credibility. Why? Because I wasn't consistent. Here's the hard truth. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's not exciting or sexy. It's showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work when no one's watching. And that's why it's so rare and so powerful. Because when you're consistent, people know they can count on you. And that builds trust, which is the foundation of respect. Let me put it this way: if you're inconsistent, people don't know what version of you they're going to get. Are you the one who delivers on time? Or the one who flakes out? Are you the one who says, "Let's hang out," and actually follows through? Or the one who ghosts? Consistency isn't just about habits. It's about showing people who you are over and over until there's no doubt in their mind. Let me tell you another story. At my first job, I worked with someone who was all over the place. One week, they'd be a superstar, super productive, always on top of things. But the next, they'd miss deadlines, forget meetings, and disappear when we needed them most. It didn't take long for people to stop relying on them. Meanwhile, there was another coworker who wasn't flashy or super outgoing. But they were consistent. They showed up on time, hit every deadline, and always kept their word. Guess who got promoted? Consistency wins every time. But let's get deep for a second. This isn't just about how others see you. Consistency is also about how you see yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, like skipping that workout or giving up on a goal, you're chipping away at your own confidence. But when you stick to your commitments, even the small ones, you're telling yourself, "I can rely on me," and that builds self-respect, which is just as important as earning respect from others. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Nobody's consistent 100% of the time. Life happens. But here's the secret. It's not about being flawless. It's about showing up most of the time. Because over time, those small, consistent efforts add up to big results. And those big results, they make people respect you. Not because you're a genius, but because you kept showing up. So here's my challenge for you. Pick one thing. Just one. And commit to being consistent with it for the next month. Whether it's showing up on time, sticking to a habit, or just keeping your word. Prove to yourself and others that you can be counted on. Because consistency isn't just a habit, it's a message. It says, "I take myself seriously. And you should too." Because at the end of the day, respect isn't about big gestures or flashy moments. It's about showing up, doing the work, and being the person people can count on. And that's consistency. 7. Stop seeking approval. All right, let's dive into something that's going to hit a nerve: seeking approval. And here's the brutal truth. If you spend your life chasing validation, you'll never be truly respected. Why? Because people don't respect doormats. They respect people who know their worth. With or without the applause. Listen, I'm not coming for you. Because I've been there too. There was a time in my life when I was basically a human sponge, soaking up everyone else's opinions to feel good about myself. I wanted people to like me so bad that I would bend over backwards, agree with things I didn't even believe in, and overextend myself just to get a pat on the back. And you know what I got in return? Burnout, disappointment, and wondering why people didn't take me seriously. Here's the thing no one tells you. When you constantly seek approval, you're handing over control of your life. You're letting other people decide your value. And guess what? The more you do it, the more people sense it. And some of them will use it against you. They'll take advantage of your need to please because they know you'll do anything to feel accepted. It's a vicious cycle, and it's one that I had to break myself. I remember this one time I was in a group of friends who I really wanted to impress. I'd say yes to everything, even when I didn't have the time or energy. They wanted help with their projects? Sure. Last-minute plans that messed up my schedule? Of course. I thought I was winning them over. But deep down, I felt drained and unappreciated. And one day, it hit me. They didn't actually respect me. They liked what I did for them, but didn't value me. And honestly, that was on me. I was the one teaching them that my boundaries didn't matter. Here's the controversial truth. Being liked and being respected are not the same thing. You can twist yourself into a pretzel trying to win everyone's approval. But at the end of the day, you're just making yourself smaller to fit into someone else's expectations. Respect doesn't come from being agreeable or nice. It comes from standing your ground and being authentically you. And let's get deep for a second. This isn't just about other people. Constantly seeking approval is a sign that you're not giving yourself the validation you need. If you're always looking for someone else to tell you you're good enough, you're basically saying you don't believe it yourself. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But here's the good news. You don't need anyone's permission to see your own worth. It's already there. Now, I'm not saying you should never care about what others think. It's human to want connection and acknowledgement. But there's a huge difference between valuing someone's opinion and letting it control your life. The moment you stop needing everyone to approve of you is the moment you start living life on your own terms. And guess what? That's when people really start to respect you. Here's what I learned. When you stop seeking approval, something incredible happens. You attract the right people into your life. The ones who value you for who you truly are, not for what you can do for them. And the people who don't like you, well, they're probably not your people anyway. And that's okay. So here's the challenge. The next time you're about to make a decision, stop and ask yourself, am I doing this because it's what I want? Or because I want someone to like me? And if the answer is the latter, take a step back. Remind yourself that you don't need everyone's approval to be worthy or valuable. Because here's the truth. The only approval you really need is your own. And when you start living like that, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when people see you as confident, secure, and someone worth respecting. Respect yourself first, and the rest will follow. Because at the end of the day, the people who matter won't need you to seek their approval. They'll just respect you for being unapologetically you. And there you have it. Habits that can help you stop being a pushover and start earning the respect you deserve. Look, respect isn't about being perfect, being the loudest in the room, or constantly proving yourself to others. It's about showing up authentically, setting boundaries, and living in a way that reflects your values. Because when you respect yourself first, the world follows suit. Now, I know some of these tips might have been a little uncomfortable or even a little spicy. But hey, growth isn't always easy, right? If any of these resonated with you, I want to hear about it in the comments. What's one habit you're ready to embrace? Or which one is going to be the hardest to nail down? Remember, this isn't about flipping a switch overnight, it's about small, consistent changes that add up to big transformations. So give yourself grace. Take it one step at a time. And don't forget to celebrate the wins, no matter how small they might seem. If you found this video helpful or even just entertaining, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button And ring the bell so you don't miss out on future content. And hey, share this with someone who could use a little reminder to stand tall and own their power. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Remember, respect starts with you. So go out there, own your decisions, and be unapologetically yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.